Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Well, this is a video I didn't think I was going to make, but here we go. Let's get into it. So right off the top, I want to say a couple of things. First, if you hear a space heater behind me, I hope it's not too distracting because I am trying to stay warm. The temperatures have taken a horrible dip, and so yeah, this room isn't the best insulated, so I got a space heater going in the background. Also, I want to say that this information that I'm going to present is primarily in a RevZilla article, and I'll have the link to that article, that full article, in the description down below, so that if you want to check out the full context of everything, you most certainly can. I would absolutely encourage that. But for those of you who are allergic to reading long form articles, I'm going to give you the TLDR version right here.
Ugh, I can't read all this. TLDR, I'm done!
And this video today is going to be about helmet safety certification identities, DOT, ECE, SNEL, and the good and bad about that stuff. And so I guess I want to start off with the DOT. I mean, if you're buying a helmet in the United States, it must have a DOT sticker on it. And it's, of course, everyone has seen it. It's, that big one right there, and every helmet in the United States will have that. So I always say that the DOT certification sticker is a waste of time. It's a throwaway sticker. It means literally nothing, and I hate that we have to have it to have a helmet here in the United States, because it is such a garbage rating. Now that I've excoriated it and said all those horrible things about it, let's look at why. Okay, so the DOT has two different impact tests. They have a flat anvil test and they have a hemispherical anvil test. And that's all well and good, except for the stringency of those two types of tests are pretty lightweight compared to ECE and SNEL. And so what does that look like in testing? So without getting into the article and reading every little thing about it, I'll give you an example. The flat anvil test. They take a helmet from a height of 54, 55 inches, and they drop it straight onto the anvil. It's got to not transfer more than 400 grams of energy. Now, when you compare that to ECE and SNEL, which we'll do later on, you'll see that that is so super loose compared to what everybody else is doing. And then there's another test. They take a spear-like striker and drop it down onto your helmet. And if it penetrates the helmet enough to where it actually gets to the head mold, then it fails. And honestly, I don't know why that's a test. I suppose maybe if you crash into a sharp curb, like a sidewalk curb that's like that. I don't know, but here's one example of why I think you'd want a penetration test on your helmet. Honestly, SNEL does a penetration test for their helmets, and I think it's a better test, more realistic than dropping a pointy thing on your helmet. That's not the end of DOT's problems. I mean, DOT already has minimalistic testing with very generous passing grades for those tests. They also have other problems in the oversight department. So unlike other testing organizations, DOT doesn't proactively test helmets before production units arrive in stores. Instead, it operates on an honor system, allowing manufacturers to self-certify before going to market with a product. I have a product. I can tell the DOT people that, hey, you know what? I've tested my helmet it passes your specifications. And to make that worse, DOT doesn't administer its own helmet tests. So I make a helmet, I say it passes DOT standards, and the DOT won't even test it. Now, that's not saying they don't have tests at all. I'm just saying that they themselves won't test it to see if it adheres to their own standards. They will subcontract that out to an independent contractor somewhere. So let me give you how that looks. California's ACT Lab is a testing lab contracted by the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. They tested 167 helmets from 2014 to 2019. Woefully minimalistic numbers of helmets. And out of those helmets that they just randomly tested for those 5 years, 72 of them failed. That's a more than a 40% failure rate. That high of a failure rate, I'm checking 100% of these helmets. But, of course, we can't do that. We ain't got the time for that, right? This is why DOT is a garbage. It's a completely garbage certification. It means nothing. If all you had was a DOT certified helmet and it didn't have ECE or Snell or any of the other ones, you don't know if that helmet is actually going to protect you for anything at all. I hate it. I hate that rating. It means nothing. I've said that enough. You know what I feel about that. So let's talk about the good stuff now, the stuff that's not a trash rating. Let's start off with the Economic Commission for Europe, ECE. And the latest strand of ECE certification is 22.06. So what makes this different from the 22.05 rating? Because the 22.05 rating is a good rating. I mean, that's what my current helmet is a 22.05. And I have full faith in this helmet in keeping me safe. I'm fairly certain that my Bell, last week I kept saying Bell Eliminator, or the week before, whenever I was going on about helmets, it was a Bell Qualifier. It's a slight difference, but it's worth noting for accuracy's sake. Bell Qualifier with the MIPS. So that was at ECE, I'm pretty sure a 22.05 helmet as well. So the 22.05 standard of testing drops their helmets onto these various anvils at a higher point, which allows for a higher rate of speed, which, when the helmet impacts that anvil, the amount of energy that's allowed to transfer from, the point of impact into the interior of the helmet is considerably less. Remember, I said DOT had 400 grams of energy transferred that they allow. ECE allows a maximum of 275 grams, much lower standard. And they also have high speed and low speed tests as well. And so the low speed of it can't allow any more than 180 grams of energy transference. So that's very good. That's very good. You want to see that. The lower that number, the lower the energy is transferred into your head, the better. And with the new 2206 standards, they've integrated a 45-degree anvil to test oblique impacts. This is supposed to help them determine how their helmet manages rotational forces. And the other thing the 2206 standard does is fix a loophole in the 2205 standard that restricted technicians to striking helmets in 6 fixed spots. Now, testers can randomly choose 18 different points around the helmet. So the 2206 helmet is tested far more stringent than the ECE 2205 helmets were. And again, that just makes for a better helmet overall, safer helmet for everybody. So 2206 is really a gold standard for helmet safety as far as I'm concerned. So now let's talk about Snell. Snell, back in the day, I didn't really pay attention to it. And I mean back in the day, I mean like 5 years ago. I didn't really pay attention to it because I always understood that to be basically a racing helmet. A Snell helmet was a helmet certified for racing. And, you know, and maybe that wasn't necessarily untrue, but that was their strong point, was direct point impacts. That was their strongest thing. And that's why I say Snell did and does a better job of penetration testing than Dot. But also, Snell tests chin bar rigidity, positional stability, shell and face shield penetration resistance, again, as I was saying, and emergency removability. All this stuff is super important for racers. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't have application on the street. It does. I'm just saying those specific things are more race oriented. In recent years, though, Snell has had to play catch up. While they're definitely the strongest for racing and for helmet structural integrity and for direct blow impacts and things like that, they've had to play catch up as the industry has recognized that oblique and glancing blows and all that kind of stuff can cause brain damage and concussions and so on and so forth. That's why systems like MIPS, systems like the ODS in my 6D helmet, all these kinds of things have come into play to give riders more protection in their head, for their head. So Snell has been retesting and introducing new standards for themselves as well. In October of 2024, Snell updated their standards to M2025D and M2025R. And the difference is M2025D is in the United States, R is over in Europe. And those new designations reflect Snell's commitment to matching like the ECE 2206 oblique testing. And in fact, what Snell does, Snell takes it even a little bit further. They will drop a helmet onto a 45-degree platform, and that platform will be lined with 80-degree sandpaper. And that to me is genius, because what that does is that kind of simulates like you hitting the road, right? That sandpaper applies friction to the helmet, and you end up getting that helmet shell movement that you would get in the street that you're not going to get just by hitting a smooth, flat piece of steel, right? So the fact that they put some rough grit sandpaper and begin to test it like that, I think is just one step above. And if you get safety companies trying to one-up each other like that, we as consumers just win big time, because we get the best product available for our own safety. So in the end, I stand by what I said. Additionally, DOT is a completely garbage rating. But with Snell catching up and doing their own oblique and angled testing and to protect their riders against the rotational forces of hitting the road at a weird angle, now I would not be opposed to a Snell certified helmet versus an ECE. I mean, 2 years ago, I would have told you ECE is king for real-time traffic road riding. Snell is good if you want the racetrack. ECE is good if you want to be on the street. But now with Snell doing their thing, it's whatever you want, ECE or Snell. They're both going to protect you very, very, very well. It just depends on how much money you want to spend. And all of this is kind of important to me, because I am in the market for a helmet. I may not do a 6D again because of China.
China, 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 China.
there's just so many good helmets out there now. Will I go with a Shoei? Will I go with an Arai? Shoei's an ECE helmet, and Arai is a Snell helmet. And since, the Snell benchmark is matching the ECE benchmark, yeah, it could go either way. Do I want to go back to a Bell qualifier since I know MIPS is good and it works and is $300 to $400 cheaper than some of these helmets, even more? Like the Arais I've been looking at, they're $1,000 helmets. I don't know if I can actually throw down $1,000 for a helmet. I financially, that's a tough call. I can do $600 to $700, and I suppose if I saved a little longer, I could do $1,000. But at the end of the day, these helmets are still only good for, they say 5 years. I don't know. Haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but I do know now that I've learned some more about these safety protocols, how they're tested, and the latest, greatest updates to them, I know my options for helmets have opened up quite a bit wider. Let me know what you think about that. Like I said, the link to the actual article is down below, and I will catch you in the next one.